Hello, dear viewer from wherever you are watching us. This is the TCG, that is the Chosen Generation TV. And we are glad that you're following us from wherever you are on YouTube. If you are joining us for the very first time, please just check out the TCG, that's the Chosen Generation Television. Subscribe, comment, share, and get to be part of these important conversations that we are having. And today we are excited to bring you the very first Friday show here at the TCG, and it is called the Men's Cave. So the Men's Cave, this is the place where we're going to be talking about matters men. Matters men, you know how men sometimes can be. We have been built in a way that sometimes we can contain ourselves. We can contain everything, every pressure, everything within us, and we do not have anywhere else to talk to. And that is why it is said sometimes that men die faster. Maybe statistically or scientifically it can be proven or not, but we bring you this show specifically to address matters addressing men. So we are being hosted here by our very, very important partner. The partner is called Sugar and Crust. Sugar and Crust is an amazing place for you if you are within Kihunguro, the Goto, Kikuyu, the Dagoretti market and its environs, and you are looking for a place to chill in the afternoons, in the evening for a superb and delicious meal or a cup of tea or coffee, this is the place for you. And we are glad that they have given us this place so that we can shoot and air our shows. So the Friday show, that is the Men's Cave, is being brought to you, and I will be your host, Gaze Robert Mayer. Others call me Uncle Bob. I'll be doing that. But in a short while, we just want to introduce a topic that we'll be handling with my amazing host, whom I'll be bringing live in a short while. And today, just to read a short verse in Psalm chapter 52 and verse 7, it says, "Here now is the man who did not make God his stronghold, but trusted in his great wealth and grew strong by destroying others." This is a simple way of introducing the topic, the very first topic we are bringing you here about men and wealth. This is an important conversation that you don't want to miss from wherever you are. Please tap your neighbor, tell them there is something amazing coming up here. And I repeat saying the Chosen Generation TV or the TCG. So before I go on and on, I want to bring to us our guest whom we are hosting. He is my friend and I'm privileged to have known him. We have done many things together, and I do not want to delay by introducing him because he is here. He's gonna do it for himself. So welcome, my brother. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Robert. It's a privilege to be here. So, viewers, my name is Peter Karanja. I run Kilele Foundation, and I'm passionate about men affairs. And so, having this opportunity to actually sit here and talk about men and issues affecting men is such a privilege for me. So, I hope you're going to have wholesome conversations that touch on men, conversations that build men. Thank you so much.
Wow. You're so much welcome. So I'm almost tempted to ask you the very first question, but it's not a question. But maybe this is a question to my viewer, you who is watching me from home, from your workplace, from wherever you are. The question could be, what is your expectation of this amazing show? I have my own expectations. He has his expectations, and I'm sure you also have your own expectations. So, Mr. Peter, maybe before we even get into introducing this topic, I don't know, what is your expectation from this show?
Wow, I thought I'd have chai. I am a lover of chai. Now that you said you at Sugar and Crust, so it's my hope that I'll also get a few cups of chai before I leave. But more importantly, I think I'd want to have wholesome conversations around men. As you said, men have a problem. We rarely get time to share. We rarely get time to talk about issues that affect us. And so one of my expectations while here is that we may be able to get to a point where we talk about very intimate conversations around men. So that at the end of the day, while we also get to interact with the audience, we also get to grow. I think that is one of my main expectations for this specific show.
Wow. Thank you very much about that. That is also actually part of my conversation. I mean, my expectation.
Yeah.
And as you have just mentioned, I already had my cup of tea. Where I come from, we take tea as we wait for breakfast. We take tea for breakfast. We take tea after breakfast. We take tea in the
With-
mid-morning. We take tea as we wait for lunch. So tea, you can be sure at Sugar and Crust,
Awesome.
you are provided with all this.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
be comfortable knowing that even at the end of this show, we'll make sure that you have maybe mugs. Let me not talk about cups, maybe mugs for yourself. And so even as we get into this topic, I know there are discussions that men don't talk about.
Yeah.
And they are like, I would rather die with this.
Sure.
Men have been stressed out by many things, with many things. Some have fallen into depression.
Yeah.
Some have lost their families. Some are afraid of even starting one because of these matters. And from what I hear you say, we are going to address them one by one.
Yeah.
It means you're not going to leave any stone unturned.
No stone.
So we are going to freely talk. We are going to freely discuss these matters without fearing anything, because the TCG from its intro, the chosen generation.
Sure.
This is, I know it's an excerpt from the Bible, that is 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 9. So it means this show entirely is guided by godly principles.
Sure.
And because God has called all of us to be partakers of this, then we have to discuss these matters, because if we do not do, we will continue being affected the same way we have.
It's true.
How many men out there have fallen? How many men have run away from their families? How many men have fallen off from the faith? How many men have even forfeited their duties at work? So these issues are very paramount, and it is just important that we discuss them.
I agree.
So, sliding into the topic that we are introducing, men and wealth.
Yeah.
And I know wealth is also that backbone, the issue that has made very many men become popular. Some have lost their popularity
Yeah.
because of wealth. Some have worked diligently because of wealth, in search for wealth, I mean.
True.
Some have used shortcuts. Some have raised families. Some have lost families because of wealth. So maybe you'll just give me your general perspective of what wealth and maybe men and wealth, what that means to you.
Okay. And now that you've talked about the Bible, I want to begin this conversation from there.
Yes.
You see, when Jesus wanted to tempt, when Satan wanted to tempt Jesus, he took him upon a high place and told him, look down. Whatever your eyes can see, so I'll give to you. All you need to do is just worship me.
Wow.
And that tells you how important the conversation around wealth is to men.
Wow.
If it is in the modern day setting,
Yes.
how many people would have worshipped Satan to get that wealth?
Wow. I can't even imagine.
Let me now come closer home. I listened to a conversation recently, and someone was saying, if you've been married to a man who is about to be laid off because of this conversation around you said,
Oh, yeah.
then as a man, you better get ready, because chances are your family is about to crumble.
Sure.
And all that tells you how important this conversation is when you're talking about men. So wealth has been equated to masculinity.
Oh, yeah.
It is more of what the depth of your pocket more than anything else. And I think that's a good place to start this conversation.
Yes, yes.
Because now it tells you how important wealth is to a man.
Yes.
Because as a man, you've been called a provider.
Yes, yes.
Can you provide without wealth?
Almost impossible.
And so that is why, for men, this is a very pertinent conversation.
Yes.
Because it brings us to the core of who a man is. Because Robert, you are only Robert as long as you can be able to provide for your family. But is that all to a man's wealth? Because there's a difference between money, what you have in your pocket, and wealth. So I think coming from that background now, you now start to begin why this conversation around men is actually important.
So you've just raised a matter here. You're talking about there is money and there is wealth.
Yes.
I think this is going to be deep. It's going to go deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
Because to many, wealth is having money.
Not
Once
at
you have
all.
money, then you are a wealthy person.
Not at
So
all.
maybe, I know we are going to have this discussion as we go on. But do you mind just giving us snippet of what you really mean by saying there is money and then there is wealth? Yes.
Today,
Yes.
if your father left a fortune for you,
Yes.
right, and told you from today onwards,
Yes.
everything that I own is yours, what has he in essence given you? Is it money or is it wealth?
Of course, he's given me wealth. He's given me wealth.
Yeah,
Yes.
because money is quantifiable.
Okay.
Wealth is built over time. Wealth is a reciprocation of money that has been multiplied over time. But money
Okay.
is basically what you
Yes.
have in your account. Today you can fall sick.
Yes.
You go withdraw that money and pay for your medical bills.
Yes.
And that money is no longer there. But wealth is something that has gradually multiplied in a way that it would take a lot of time for you to actually go back to being broke.
Wow.
And that is why we're talking about men and wealth, not men and money. I don't know if it makes sense.
I'm getting so my follower, my viewer, wherever you are now, I see you are already understanding this thing. I have just been made to understand that there is money and there is wealth. Money is quantifiable. Wealth is that which has been multiplied over time. And also another thing that I got is that money can be depleted in a second, but wealth cannot be depleted in such a short time. So in that case, it means that you can get money within a short time,
Yes.
like in a snap of a finger. Then you have money.
Yes.
But you cannot be wealthy
Not at all.
by just okay.
Not at all.
I think I understand that. So I don't know if you're having any question about that, but these and many others are the topics that we're going to bring you, and this is what we are going to push so that everybody gets to understand this matter. So there is another thing that you mentioned even in your introduction. You talked about something to do with masculinity.
Yes.
And I know for men, masculinity is everything.
Yes.
I think masculinity is what determines what we call the man ego, and men will feel so frustrated, so hurt if anybody interferes with their ego. I don't know if you want to talk about something similar about masculinity.
So someone said, and it is very interesting, that every time you go to your ushago,
Yes,
Western for instance, the kind of roles you're given could basically explain the kind of person you are in a society.
Yes.
Kama wewe unaambiwa if you're given very menial roles in that setting, then already you begin to see the kind of place you've been put within that context, right? Yes. So what is masculinity? Masculinity basically refers to what is a man, what is my self-worth. If I came here today and the president came here, who would you rather have an interview with?
Okay, let me not respond to that at the moment.
But basically that speaks into
Sure.
what we actually refer to masculinity. And that is what every man would want to achieve. Every man wants to get to a point where, you see, in the traditional context, it was called machoism. You're macho. But now we talk about masculinity because it better captures the general concept of a man.
Wow.
But today, masculinity has been narrowed down to wealth. Cars. For instance, if today we were to meet as old boys of a certain high school.
Okay.
So the first question is, what do you do nowadays?
All right, I get it.
So masculinity is in knowing I am a doctor. Masculinity is in knowing I drive a Lamborghini. So masculinity in the modern context is basically quantified to mean how much are you worth, Robert?
Wow. So that means okay.
So masculinity and wealth go hand in hand.
Sure.
And it is a social construct.
Wow.
It is not how it should be, but it is a social construct. That today, if I'm not wealthy, then there are circles I will not go to.
True.
If today I cannot park a car, then I won't go to certain circles. So masculinity shouldn't be equated to wealth, but from a societal point of view, we found ourselves in that setting. So what do we do? And that's why we're having this conversation, so that now we start then to understand, is that the way biblically it should be? or is it that you're getting it wrong?
Wow. I know there is a conversation that is ongoing, that is very interesting, and I know you are already getting intrigued and you just want to be glued to your TV, to your phone, and just watch us. And I don't want to forget that we are being hosted by our able partners. This is Sugar and Crust, and we said for your tea needs, for your snack needs, if you want to a place where you can chill in the afternoon, in the morning, in the evening, after work, depending on your work schedules, this is the place for you. You can even bring your mpoa from wherever you are. This is the place for you. Now, I just want to pick up from where we left, Mr. Peter.
Yeah.
You had mentioned about masculinity in terms of what somebody is worth. So there is a joke that is said, okay, actually it's not a joke, it's true in our village, that somebody goes to their village, they are the elder brother, and now the younger brother or the younger sibling is doing better. And so you get home, and the first thing your parent or your guardian does is, why can't you serve your brother something? You are the elder brother. In my traditional culture, the younger ones serve the elder. But now these things have been turned. Why? Because my brother came with a Toyota Premium, and I am using my Ford Mitsubishi. So it becomes a problem. So I don't know what you're going to talk about. And then another thing, it's also been said that in those fora you have been called for a family meeting, and when other people are being asked about the kind of drink they will take, you are just brought Coke. And then others are like, what are you taking? What are you taking? So does that relate with what you just talked about, masculinity and what somebody's worth?
Basically, and it cuts across board, Robert. Even in a marriage setting, today, as a man, if God forbid, but you lost your source of income, the chances of a rift between you and your wife is almost certain. Whether you're looking at it from a born-again Christian point of view or from a worldly point of view. Because from the onset, a man was seen as a provider. And so, from the time you're born, you're always chasing after wealth, even without knowing. Because you already understand that if you don't make wealth, then you're not a man. And it puts men in a lot of under a lot of pressure, because ideally that should not be it. As I said when we were starting this conversation, the measure of a man should not always be on the depth of the pocket. That's why I said we need to differentiate between wealth and money. Because there are people who have a wealth of knowledge.
Sure. Okay, I see where you're headed.
You understand? So the problem we have as a society is that we look at wealth purely from a financial point of view. But even that elder brother of yours back in Ushago, who may not have a Subaru, could sit you down and give you advice that could change your life.
They say they have Subaru instead.
You understand?
Yes.
So, but the problem with the society is that we have narrowed down this conversation to purely financial wealth. But come to think of it, right?
Yes.
In the modern context, if for instance today you wanted to marry, one of the most basic reasons would be young men give for not marrying is not financially stable.
Exactly, that's the point. Yep.
So already in your mind, you know, the only route to marriage is financial stability. So it is a conversation that we should actually start having and ask ourselves, why is it that society has boxed a man that the only definition of a man can only be based on? And probably that is why you have corruption in Kenya. Probably that is why we have shortcuts. Because I believe as long as I don't have this money, then I cannot stand in a social context and claim to have any opinion.
Sure.
By the way, if we were sitting here today and a rich man cracks a joke, even if it is as dry as those bones we talk about, those bones where people laugh.
People, yes.
But give your opinion, and it is a very valid opinion in front of people, and they don't consider you to be wealthy or rich.
As long as it's not validated by the rich.
it does not
doesn't
count.
matter. Oh,
So
no.
it is important for us now to then come to the question of how then can we begin to make godly wealth so that we also get to have a space in the society that could actually allow us to make opinions, lead in conversations that build, because sometimes our conversations are really relevant, but they are only narrowed down to how much money do you have.
Sure. Hey, so this is talking about, I think it's just helping us to understand. You have heard of those stories of wageni wa Nairobi?
Okay. you see now.
Wageni wa Nairobi ile tent, then wale wa huku ambao hawajatoka Nairobi, you are going to group yourselves in groups of 5, and then there is a bucket of githeri for you. So I think it means the same, right?
Definitely.
Because from what you have explained, and I've been able to think through this, and it makes sense to me that wageni wa Nairobi, literally, they are labeled wageni wa Nairobi because they are financially able.
Or it is assumed.
It's assumed, yes. It's assumed that they are financially able compared to the villager. I also understand that there are people still in the same village who are not wageni wa Nairobi, but they have some say in terms of their wealth and finances. They are not usually categorized. Actually, they are supposed to escort the wageni wa Nairobi.
Basically.
So, my view from what you are observing is that wealth is now becoming an important issue in society. And now, this is going to cascade into how do we build wealth. I know you have mentioned about godly ways of building wealth, but I do not want to, first of all, I don't want us to get into the godly way. We want to talk about this elephant in the room first, before now we can give the opinion, because we know absolutely and ultimately, whatever decision we have to make is what is the God's view concerning wealth. What is God's view concerning every activity that we are supposed to do? So eventually we are going to get there. But I know, for example, I don't know if you had this where somebody has from nowhere, they're doing better in life, they're doing well. You ask them, hey bro, I think you're doing well. Tell me, what's the secret? And then they tell you, Mazeni God. Okay, give me your opinion about Mazeni God. Well, suddenly maybe you're in the same league, and then something happens within a short period of time, and you see them actually they are driving. Maybe you are doing Futsubishi, they are having Mitsubishi, right? Or maybe they're doing Lexus, you're doing Lexus. So from nowhere, within a span of 2 weeks, they are doing well, and now you're asking them, bro, we have been in this same boat together. Now tell me how you got out. And then they tell you, Mazeni God. So I think for me, that is an escapism route of telling you that we do not want you to understand the secret. And actually, so I don't know, what do you want to say about that?
But they could be actually testifying to God's doing,
It
could they say no kogeria, and it is interesting because as you're saying, I don't want you to know my source of wealth because we are in a capitalist society. My worry is I don't want the two of us to be rich because I'm not sure if we are still in the same boat. I have a fear that probably you might actually steal into my wealth, which is again very relevant in this conversation because sit down with any rich person and tell them, show me your ways. Chances are they will bolt out.
Okay, now that makes it even more complicated because in my opinion, I thought if you are doing better and I also begin doing better, the burden reduces. But now apparently in a capitalistic society, one wants to do better than the other, and they will do whatever it takes to ensure that the other person remains down.
Exactly.
Now, this is sad. So as you can see, this conversation is taking that route, and that is what is happening in our society. Now, our question becomes, now, who is going to help these other men who have not yet discovered the secret in a capitalistic world where men are categorized in terms of what they possess in terms of wealth, where men are viewed, their masculinity is defined around wealth creation and money? What are we going to do? Now, this is the conversation we'll be bringing you every Friday here at TCG Media. If it's your first time to join us, please remember to subscribe to our channel. Subscribe, comment, share, and let this information reach to as many people as possible. So we are about to conclude, but before I conclude, I would like my guest, Mr. Peter. I know this conversation is gonna be so beautiful even as we continue. If this is the introduction and this is the way it has gone, man, you can only be sure that we are bringing you pure content, content that is ready to help somebody who is going to be watching with an open mind. So I don't know what you would want to tell your viewer because they are here. I know questions are coming down here on the comment section. I know many people would want to reach us. So as you give your parting shot, maybe you can tell people or what you think people will be expecting from this show. And as we continue the conversation of men and wealth, because we have just introduced it. So, and then if people want to find you, you don't, the number might be given in with request, but in other platforms that you can be found, please, you can just go ahead here.
So growing up, we were constantly told that money is evil, right? But over time, we've come to learn that it is actually the greed for money, which is evil. So money is good because it is only through money that you can be able to build wealth. So we need to start coming from that conversation of money is evil and look at the greed for money. Because if you build your wealth through genuine means, then that money is good. There's nothing as good, Robert, as having money.
I know, yeah, I get it.
The ability to make money, so that today if you want to travel to Dubai, for instance, you just need to, and you're there. So men should also begin to look at wealth creation from a positive angle, because it's God's desire that you have money. You see, the Bible says that He owns cattle on 1,000 hills, that silver and gold belongs to Him. So if all that belongs to God and God is our Father, then it is God's will that you have money. And so, viewers, the conversation around men and wealth is a conversation that we need to have. And not because we have wealth, we're also in the process of building. But it is through these conversations that we're able to get to a point where now we understand wealth from a godly point of view. So viewers, you can follow me on Facebook, Peter Karanja, on Instagram, Peter Karanja. In some circles, they call me Kilele because we run Kilele Foundation and Kilele Bookshop. So in all those platforms, you can find me in those under those tags. And let's interact, because it is through these conversations that you're going to grow as men. So thank you so much, Robert, for having me. I appreciate this conversation. I'm looking forward to have more conversations in the man cave.
Sure. But maybe before we are logged off, maybe do you mind just in 30 seconds saying what Kilele Foundation is all about?
Awesome. Yes. So Kilele Foundation grew out of Kilele Bookshop. And basically what we do is that we use it as a CSR. So we've been going to schools and we realize that there's a huge need. There are students who lack necessities. There are students who don't support in probably school fees and all. So Kilele Foundation is actually an extract. It is a CSR mission. It is the CSR side of our business. So through Kilele Foundation we do mentorship. Through Kilele Foundation we do evangelism, sports evangelism. Through Kilele Foundation we do street rehabilitation for drug addicts. So basically that is us. We partner mostly with schools, but also with churches, just to make sure we bring positive change to the society.
Right. Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Peter. So as you have heard, you can follow him on all those platforms. And here at the TCG, the Men's Cave, we are bringing you one of the shows that you don't want to miss, because this is meant for you. Whether you are a man, you are a woman, you are a child, you are a baby, it doesn't matter. These conversations matter and they matter to you. So we will be continuing next Friday. See you again. But our main host here, our partner who has hosted us here, is the Sugar and Crust. For your snack, your tea, you're welcome anytime. So see you next time. God bless you.